Bungie has rebranded Marathon from a single-player first-person shooter sci-fi game to a multiplayer sci-fi extraction shooter. The recently released trailer and subsequent gameplay overview has the talking heads on social media going nuts. But is it all just a grift, or is this game shaping up to be Concord 2.0? So first, let's just go into what we know about the game so far. The planned release date is September 23rd, 2025. It goes into early access April 23rd, which leaves about 5 months for them to have early access, probably a closed beta, and an open beta. There aren't too many design changes that they can make in that amount of time. A bunch of knob turning can be done, but other than that, 5 months, I don't see much that's going to change for this game. The game's going to have dedicated servers, disconnect protection to some degree, anti-cheat. Marathon is built for 3-person teams, but you can switch autofill off and queue as a solo or a duo. Ranked plays on the roadmap, but Bungie won't have it ready for launch. Not great. Saw what happened with Halo without ranked on launch. Seasonal reset occurs every 3 months. New seasons, add zones, updates, runners, weapons, events, and story beats. No single player. You have 3 maps on release and 4 runners, heroes, characters, whatever you want to call them, with 4 loadouts each. There's also 6 different factions that you can be a part of. You know, runners day-to-day boils down to what factions they pick contracts up for, and there are different incentives to play mercenary for each. You can build reputation with any Marathon secretive organizations, unlocking the group's passive perks. So now let's just dive into why people are thinking this game might be the next Concord. A lot of these tweets are going to be from Grums. He seems to be at the forefront of the culture war when it comes to games made for modern audiences, and we all know what that means when I say that. Here is a tweet where he goes, people don't like the look of Marathon's art style because it reminds them of postmodern art slop, which it kind of does. You know, it's not made in Unreal Engine 5. I think it's called Firewalk Engine or something like that is Bungie's engine. But it kind of has that like lifeless feel where the visuals are too clean and too sterile. Now add to that intentionally androgynous character designs and people's alarm bells go off. This character right here is a man with the pursed lips and the hourglass figure, you know, and the weird shirt. And this, I don't even know what that is. I mean, in Bungie's defense, this is a sci-fi game. This is probably the style they're going for. This really doesn't fit in this world, in my opinion. Now, you think about games like Cyberpunk, and you see where they went with how they make some of their characters appear, especially how the anime did it. And you think, well, wait, you know, they did it. Why can't Bungie do it? But it seems like this is the style they're going for, and I don't think anybody's changing their mind. You know, he goes on to say postmodern art was funded by DEI grants, pattern recognition of players kick in whenever they see unclear genders. He's right there. Gamers can't help but have a knee-jerk reaction when seeing stuff like this. People are just sick of it, and you can't blame them for reacting the way they are. And I completely agree with him here. Is when you see characters that look like this, you're just like, you're like, oh, not again. Why are they doing this? But let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt that the devs and the team over at Bungie that are working on this game had a vision, and this was the vision they went for. So and then you come over here and you start to look at the devs. You know, you have pronouns in the bio. This is the senior producer, Jessica Irwin. You know, I shouldn't talk. This girl looks like she could be related to me. I think we get glasses at the same place. Laura Warner, you know, the hair, you know, this is the look. This is the, you know, 15 years ago, we called them SJWs. I don't know what they're called anymore. We call them the leaders of the Western games industry. And you have this guy right here, Prince Zissou, however you want to pronounce it. That guy from Twitter, gay AF, weightlifter, producer on Marathon. And a lot of people are saying, well, look, you know, good thing producers and the social lead and senior producers, you know, and even the CEO of Bungie, you know, be brave, be kind, F racism, social injustice, etc., etc. You know, what influence are they going to have the game? Well, the CEO is obviously going to have some influence on the final say of the game. And these people also have final say on the game. This girl right here, senior producer, this girl right here, social lead, this guy, I think guy, it says guy right here, their voice accounts for 50 to 100 of people who don't think the way that they do. They have the loudest voices in the room, and it's not even close. When these people speak, everyone is forced to listen. Anyone who wants to keep their job is not going to speak out otherwise. They have the loudest, most powerful voices in the room, and they're backed by their CEO. So anyone who's saying that, you know, that people like this, and this is just a few, don't have influence over the game, I think you're dead wrong on that one. This is a little piece of grift by Grums here where he's saying Marathon's alpha application contains a completely unnecessary gender identity question. You know, it does not matter if you are male or female, whatever. There was no reason for this except a virtue signal. This is, you know, how you end up with Concord. That's how we got to the point in this industry, you know, and in the beta application, the early access application, they ask, you know, are you woman, man, non-binary, transgender, etc. I don't mind seeing this. If 95% of people click man, okay, the powers that be, the investors out there might say, look, why are you pandering to transgender and non-binary people when they're not playing the game? Sure, they might be a growing population in the overall zeitgeist, but currently they mean nada, and it's all men who are playing this game. So this is a little piece of grift. I feel like this is a little Elon Bucks farming here. You know, but then you see a tweet like this from Tom Henderson, where he's talking about, you know, Bungie wants Marathon to be a social extraction experience, but the game doesn't have proximity chat. In a game where it's PvP, PvE, like they want this game, they want the world to live and breathe. And if you don't feel like you're playing against other people, then just make them bots. Make everyone bots. If you don't know that there's a real person on the other side of that game, then what does it matter? They had the developers that came out and said that they don't want toxicity in their game, and there's no way to combat toxicity when proximity chat is enabled. But there is, and it's called the mute button, and that's essentially what you're doing here. You're just pressing everyone's mute button. If you're worried about something kids are going to hear, well, who is your game made for? Who is your game about guns and killing each other made for? Not 12-year-olds, okay? Put proximity chat back on. What are you thinking? People can press the mute button. I have plenty of friends who got so tilted in games like League of Legends, you know, they don't even have text chat on. They have nothing on, and they live a peaceful existence on that game. There's other people who thrive off of it, who, you know, who leave the proximity chat on, who leave all chat on. And when it becomes too much, or when things become toxic, you mute people, you block people, you self-regulate. If you're just sitting there listening to hate all day, and you can't bring yourself to open one menu and do 1 or 2 clicks every 3 or 4 games, then you shouldn't be playing video games. Not for you. You know, you have Dexterdo saying Marathon, Bungie's new multiplayer game, will not be free to play. It has no campaign or single player, but will be cheaper than $70, similar to Concord, which puts it probably at a $40 price point. A $30 price point would be a lot better, but any price point for this game. If you wonder why the comparisons to Concord are being made, this is the main one right here, okay? Yes, Marathon was a game in the 90s, but it's not an established IP. I put it on the same footing as Concord, okay? In my eyes, it's a brand new IP. We kind of heard nothing about it for a long time, and all of a sudden it's going into early access, and you're not releasing it with that much content, and you're charging for it. Not only are they charging for it, but it's rumored that they're going to have paid battle passes and microtransactions. Now, you have a game like Marvel Rivals, completely free to play, barrier to entry 0. If your friend asks you if you want to play Marvel Rivals, there's no downside to trying that game. A $40 entry fee is a huge downside. All the comparisons to like character design and the people that are working on the game aside, I think this is the biggest comparison to Concord that you can make, is that it's a game that should 100% be free to play. It's multiplayer only. There's no campaign. And it's rumored that they're going to be charging $40 for the game. 20. 20 is the max that I think people would be willing to pay for this game. There are indie games out there that offer hundreds of hours of gameplay that you can buy on Steam right now for $12. This game can be sunsetted in 3 weeks and you might not get a refund. You have Paul Tassi, a writer for Forbes, who's way far on the left, saying the marathon math is fundamentally hard regardless of quality. $40. He's saying $40. I don't know if that's completely true or not. For 6 characters, 3 maps, what appears to be 1 mode at launch, plus Battle Pass and microtransactions. So even this guy, who normally champions games like this, is saying that not going free to play is a really bad idea, and I agree with him. With all the comparisons to Concord being made, a former dev on Firewalk and Concord came out and decided to, looks like Reddit, to post about, why we should give Concord a chance. He's saying, I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'll skim over. He's, I just wanted to share a little insight into what a 40-year-old man is feeling after dedicating a large portion of his life to making video games. He worked with a bunch of talented people. He's been in the industry for 17 years. This is an important paragraph. I'll read this. Many players know about Concord and what happened with that project. Concord failed to inspire players. Now, this really bothered me. Concord failed to inspire players. But what had happened was you released a game with decent bones that, once again, you could have just done some knob turning on gun damage and the floatiness of the game and changed up some stages and the flow of the game, and it would have been fine. It would have been fine. But the character design was viewed so poorly and the outrage about it so great that your response to it and the team's response was, we're not changing anything. Go F yourself, you Nazi racist fascist pigs. And then your game died. Failed to inspire players? Really? That's the wording we're going with? Okay. And the messages was what was heard loud and clear. No, it wasn't. It definitely was not. You can look at all the games that came out after Concord, whether they were in development or not. Games are starting to get canceled now before they release, because now people are a little bit more worried. But no one's really paying attention. It was gut-wrenching to see our project fail and be the laughingstock of many online. I've learned that failure is what drives me to succeed. Nobody cares. I'm not asking for pity or even sympathy. Blah, blah, blah. The margin for success is very thin. I took a chance and lost. Some of you probably smell blood in the water. Yeah, a lot of people smell money in the water, is what it really is. Hating on games is big money, is big business in the gaming industry right now, and you can't make it this easy for them. He goes on to say, seeing the faces of developers on the Bungie stream gave me hope and excitement for what has come from Marathon. I commend them for taking a chance, trying something foreign to them. A first-person shooter is foreign to Bungie on an engine that they've been working with for 10 years. That's foreign. That isn't proven nor guaranteed. It's also an extraction shooter, which is kind of on the upslope right now. Battle royales have kind of taken a nosedive. Extraction shooters and out of nowhere Marvel Rivals hero shooters are on the rise. It takes no courage to release a first-person for Bungie to release a first-person shooter, extraction or not. When you look at the game, it looks and plays just like Halo and Destiny, from the way they throw the grenades to the gunplay to the way they move. Like, what did you try that was new? I mean, please stop with that. Just in the end here, another post from Grums. This is from a couple days ago. He says, I think people are tired of the culture wars because they see it as largely over. They feel gamers won and people want to move on. Society as a whole won and cancel culture is largely rejected. Studios are still affected and games are still going to choose politics over quality, but as people see it, the number is less and less as every game that tried this past year has failed. It doesn't matter if this is the actual case. The big middle feels this way. The war was won, or at least rebalanced at great cost. Many people stuck their necks out for it, including myself. This is also what I said in 2025 would be a time of rebuilding. And I do look forward to that. No, there's no rebuilding in the West. What Grums fails to realize, and what I think the larger picture is here, or the larger message when it comes to these types of games that are still getting released is companies in the West do not care about Grums's opinion. They do not care about my opinion. They do not care about people who think like me. They don't care about their opinions because to them, we are the enemy. They've come out and stated it over and over and over again. When they talk, listen. When they tell you something, believe them. They're not making games for you, and they will tank entire studios on the back of it. They do not care. These people are tourists in the industry. They would not go anywhere near this industry if it wasn't as lucrative as it is right now. You'll never convince me of that. I said this a few years ago and got a lot of flack online about it, where people, where developers were saying we can make bigger money elsewhere. Okay, that's exactly what happens when a studio closes that these people work for. They fail upwards and go work at an accounting firm or go work somewhere else in tech or go do something else. These people do not care if they light the match on the way out, as long as they stick it to the Nazis, as long as they can rest their head on their pillows and say that they never catered to people who they don't agree with. And what's going to happen is, as Western gaming development crumbles, which it most certainly is, development from the East, development from China, development from South Korea, development from Japan is and will continue to explode. The only reason, now, China's a little bit different. China likes to steal intellectual property and make it their own and, cater to what Western men like. And they have really hit the nail on the head with that, and with great success. Japan, on the other hand, was pushed. They were the kings for the longest time. And then the West eventually caught up to them and surpassed them in so many ways. You wouldn't have games like Dark Souls. You wouldn't have From Software. You wouldn't have the brilliance of Miyazaki if he wasn't pushed by the West to make some of the greatest RPGs of all time. You would still have turn-based slop, which, by the way, I love turn-based games, but you would still have that if it wasn't for the West completely shirking that idea and coming out with Elder Scrolls and Fallout and doing all these newer RPGs, these huge open-world, non-turn-based RPGs. Without competition, Japan and China will absolutely dominate, and it's not going to be good for the industry. So I don't know what we have won. I don't think we've won anything. I want to see the West continue to make games. But if we keep coming out with this shit, it ain't going to happen for much longer. Let me know in the comments what you think. I put this together real quick. Please like and subscribe, comment, etc., etc. Later.